Hey guys, how are y'all doing?
Hi,
Hello.
Bailey. Well, you?
I am so good. I loved this movie. I watched it kind of I went in blind, no prior knowledge, and I got to feel those twists and turns. And so whenever I sat down to write my questions for this interview, I was like, how do I not get in trouble by spilling some details? So I'm going to take the heat off me and put it on y'all a little bit here. And I want to hear how you would describe this movie to your audience.
I'll start.
Good.
It's an apocalyptic event happened. A cataclysmic event happened 20 years prior, and my character and my son run away from this cataclysmic event, and Drew's character loses his mom, and my character sets up a world away from this disaster, where they can just be together, and he can teach his son the ways of the world, and in so doing they create this incredibly bonded relationship, which is almost sort of symbiotic at this point, and we meet them when Jake is at full sort of emotional maturity. And I'll throw to you, Drew.
Yeah, he's Jake is someone who for a long time has only known one way of living, and as he goes through life and as he progresses and as he matures and develops as a man, he develops an inquisitive nature. He feels as if there must be more to life than what's going on here, and it's not until he meets a rather mysterious stranger played by the lovely Alicia here, that his entire world is kind of thrown for a loop. I mean, everything he knew and thought he knew is thrown out the window, and now he's faced with a million different questions, and all this side of him that he's kind of buried and repressed is now coming to the forefront. And that's when you meet Henrietta.
And I wanted to start by saying, you guys start off in the wilderness, you're able to live off of nature. And a lot of people nowadays could do that. So I'm curious, out of the three of you, who do you think would survive in the wild?
We're gonna let Alicia answer this one.
Yes, I would love to hear.
Oh, none of us. all of us. I think that
She's a warrior. She would totally be able to take this.
If she could take all her dogs with her and her son,
She'd be
she'd
happy.
yeah.
I like the idea of living off the grid and living that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my solar panels and my gray water, and I grow my own food, so I'm pretty close.
Another thing, Stephen, your character actually has a little bit of disdain for the world that we live in now. There are pros and cons to the society we have. And I'm curious what you guys think are the pros and cons of the world we live in now.
One of the things we've been talking about today is the social media of it all, and in terms of our children, one of the things that I would love, and being up that mountain made me think about it a lot, was not having this access that we have to everybody's feelings and thoughts, and every single person having an opinion about every single thing. I really like the idea of just being, like Alicia said, off grid, and so as much as we're all tied to our devices, we very specifically, as most families do, have times when we're off them, and honestly, I would say probably if you put my kids, if you actually held them down and asked them, they'd probably say that was their favorite times.
Mm-hmm.
It's that I hanker for a time when we didn't have all those devices with us at all times.
Yeah. What about you two? What do you think?
I really like the idea of it. I'm someone who I don't have any problem. In fact, I rather enjoy being alone. I don't have any children, so it's a little easier for me than these two. But I do a lot of stuff by myself, so I enjoy a little bit of alone time and kind of being in my own thoughts and not being surrounded by, you know, whatever. Try to put down, you know, the phone as much as possible. I have spent, I think, 2 days, maybe 3 max, by myself, camping. So that's really the extent of it for me. But it's something that is intriguing to me, and it's something that, like, I think I would really like to explore in the coming years in my life, because I do enjoy that, and I think it also, you find out a lot about yourself when you kind of shut it all out and you go internally, and you know, some good, some bad, who knows, but just the idea of kind of, you know, who you become, and something, you know, what you find out about yourself being alone and being isolated, it's intriguing for me.
And what about you? What do you think are the pros and cons for society right now?
I think that there's so much beauty in people's hearts. And I think that when you step away from all the division that everyone is trying to cause, people are just loving human beings. And I think that, you know, it really disturbs me that 9 million people go hungry a year, and that people, you know, I think it's about 12 million die of cancer a year, 12 million of heart disease, 12 million of diabetes. That people are so unhealthy, and that we don't even think about it. Those numbers are not, that's just every year. And the fact that 9 million people die a year of hunger, when all that food is being fed to animals so that we can eat a burger, it's an inefficient use of resources. And when I think about that, it really breaks my heart, knowing that if we just stopped eating as much animal food as we do, and let that food go to the actual people's mouths, the people who are starving to death, and that would not only end hunger, but it would also end people being unhealthy. And then that would minimize all those deaths I just talked about in all of those areas. And it would also not be harmful to animals and so cruel. We're so barbaric what we do to make our food. It's so horrific. And any good person who saw it would say, no, thank you. So those are the things that disturb me. And also just the fact that it's so difficult in today's world to get the truth. You have to be really committed, and most people don't have the time or energy to do their own research and really study things. They're being lied to, they're being manipulated, and people are just following along. And I think we really, really have to take the time to find sources you truly, truly trust.
Well, I'm going to let you know that if you run for president, that should be your speech, and I will vote for you in a heartbeat. But it was so lovely to talk to you guys, and I hope everyone sees Last Survivor in theaters and on demand February 4th. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.